Well, hello. This I decided to be my final video instructions for parents to children with severe autism, like what you hear back there. Um, and I will give you more information that you're probably waiting for, because I know some of the proactive parents probably already tried potty training and end up like where I was, where it just didn't work no matter what you do. All the strategies, right? All that strategies. Yeah, there's a lot of information. It's just not enough lifetime because they grow. And you want to address that before they turn into adults. And again, there's so many components, and again and again. And when you just train somebody hands-on, you have them right there, you show, you demonstrate, you explain, you give an example, you cite sources. And here I'm just basically one way talking, so please forgive me if I missed something. I'm trying to go back to a certain degree if it's something not as important, whatnot. But the reason I'm doing this last video tonight, as I said, I'll do it tomorrow. We have Busch Gardens tomorrow, reopen. My child and I, we're waiting. I asked him today, I said, Brandon, what do you want? And he said, Thursday, because he knows the Busch Garden opens on Thursday, tomorrow. And that's opens at 12. And I usually post video around 12, and I have to probably leave like at 11, maybe 11:15, because that's what he's waiting for 3 days. And that's why you don't see like my magnets videos, because there is nothing to put on the refrigerator. So I'm working with some other things, and try to keep him occupied. So we leave Busch Gardens now. We're obsessed with Busch Gardens, and this is the most powerful reinforcer for us now. I mean, it's terrible in my poor back, but I'm still using this in my advantage, because he has sensory, and this is how he needs that extra stimulus. And he goes there and he swings. It's a larger scale. He has fun, and I'm using that because that's an environment that he loves, and we learn there now. And we don't have a bathroom, by the way, available, right, that he can go to. So now he needs to figure out how to tell me that, mommy, pee-pee, whatever that is. I'll take it, and I know him. So works good for me. So tomorrow is Busch Gardens, and I just today, for some, I don't know why I meant to say that, but I found this necklace that I love so much, and many of you know where that came from. Yeah, I'm on that ship. I'm on that ship, and I'm also a third-class passenger. We just turned April 12th, we just turned 111 years, and this is what I'm obsessed with. Will I survive or no? I just don't know. That's why I decided to run these videos and leave them for people to use. Somebody will eventually thank me, even if I never know. But I'm honest, I'm open, I'm encouraging you. Keep trying, because easier said than done, but I'm not one of those, because I've done it. So you have to trust me based on that. But so that's my introduction for this final video, supposedly on just the day P training. Let's put it that way. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this yet to present some of the things, because again, I'm very limited, and I'm gonna have a distraction on going back there. Probably hear that. Brandon, calm down. Mommy's trying to record something over here. And yeah, this is just one room here, but we got a bathroom. And I want to start with, well, the name of this video is basically what worked for us after all. And that last session training, name it whichever. This last one is I gave you a modified version with choices. What may work for you an easier way? And some of that information I did not have, and books don't have that, and even BCBAs don't know many. Yeah, I mean, they learn books and what's in those books. I mean, yeah, go take a look and see. So not unless you went through it. This is how you establish like your credibility. And so I will start this one again, negative, and that is why we failed. Well, first of all, I didn't have that information I just shared with you. Okay, I was like 3 years of ABA at the time, so I've taken what was given to me and I just followed, but it just did not work. Some of these books don't even target nonverbal, non-understanding children. Okay, it's just that simple. Then why we failed the first time is because we picked the wrong time for potty training. We thought it's gonna be spring break, it's gonna be 2 weeks, and we're all nice and peachy. No, that did not happen. Okay, and he was in school then, so that's when I start thinking we need more time. When is that? It'll be summer. So we started doing another training with, I had BCBAs and they keep changing. I had something from the one and then another one came in. And the second time we failed with, some of the stuff was missing. But I think we failed because my child, I already had scheduled toys, everything that I told you about. I did all that too, and it just did not freaking work. What do you do then? And yeah, by the way, right now, you know what I'm dealing with? He's going to puberty. Go and see if you can find anything. I didn't, so I'll be sharing that too. It's important, critically important, because again, it will be a special session just for that, because this is what I'm going through right now and trying to kind of work it out, because there is nenta. They tell you about social stories. Tell the social story to that child over there. Anyway, going back, I just like to be sidetracked. Yes, I'm sorry. Why we failed is because my child has a very short interest span, and that's, I think, majority, because the only span he has where he will be interested in something for a very long time, that's the digital device. And by now you should know what your child is interested. Could this be I don't know, metal pieces? Could this be toys? I don't know, like dinosaurs. They love that crap. I mean, whatever that is. My child was into digital device, and it doesn't matter whether it's except for speech device, by the way. He only STEAM on that, so that was negative. But he was always into iPad, Android, iPhone, and Android phone, anything, iPad, Leapfrog, whatever. And I had them all, by the way. I had all of them. I still do. It's just sitting there. But because he had a zero, maximum 30 minutes max to play with that nice flashy soundy toy in the bathroom, then he would lose interest on that very same day. Right? Because he knew he had access to that iPhone, iPad, and he always wanted only that, and that created a lot of issues for me as we went along. And another thing that is, he also has sensory processing disorder, and this is not just, he's completely unbalanced. I mean, sensory auditory, he hears very fine sounds and noises. He can hear it a mile away. He smells food before he takes it. That's why he had feeding issues. Then he has physical steaming. He's rocking and he's doing clapping. Oh, I mean, I already got rid of the clapping. He's not clapping anymore. Took me months. Yeah. But he's only now rocking, and I'm working on that. And he's also verbally steaming too, by the way. So then there's oral sensory coming along too. Anyway, but he was, when we start potty training, he just could not really, he had to be moving constantly, like, oh my gosh, and he still does. And how you do training then when they have to actually sit? Yeah, well, he was permitted, and you can do a little amplitude here, but if he needs more, he cannot really do that. So that was not really exactly comfortable for him to address that physical steaming, right? Because how far can you go in the chair? So that's why we failed. That's why we failed. But I did not fail. I did not. I continue looking for other things. And I didn't fail on him, regardless. ABA failed at this case, people. ABA failed. And the book that I had, 0. So, what good come out of those 2 failed attempts? Attempts, that means hundreds of trials, by the way. We have to break up all on little steps. So we had 100 of trials and 2 attempts, and we failed. And that was still not all that negative after all. The positive thing is that we still had the triangle with variables and one variable and 2 non-variables. We established that because my father and I, we both work consistently, and we were alternating, changing, replacing, helping each other. So there was always these 2 people in the potty training session process, whatever. And then we established environment because our bathroom was really nice. I had many toys, and I would put nicer one each day, but he had other toys in that basket. And then we had packs and everything. And like I said, because I didn't even teach him hand washing, just because it's an extra step, it's an extra skill, it's more frustration for them, where you just want to limit what you're targeting. And the key, the core, and the goal is to make them go pee in the potty, and that has to be by accident, right? Because I told you, they just not gonna pee because it's time for them to pee. They're gonna wait for that diaper or the underwear tongue, just as soon as you put it on, they're gonna go. And yeah, I'm repeating myself from the previous session, but this is what it is. This is what happens, and they wait for that underwear. That's why I have to physically distract them to get that accident to come out. And you do other things, like I said, use those sounds. Maybe they respond to that. I don't know. I mean, it's just an idea, right? So we did establish that environment. So when we tried the 3rd time around, that was finally productive for us, okay? And this is only phase P, because I may talk about P at night eventually. And I think this one probably a month or 2, I don't remember really. But it's all day work. While he's in underwear, this is the whole time you're going to be working one-on-one, sometimes 2-on-1 even, when they say like go to school ratio 3-to-8. No, I'm sorry. 2 people and 1 child, okay? This is where we are. That's going to be more productive and realistically achievable, right? I mean, yeah. Because we're dealing with 0. Always remember that. So we established that environment, and we established same people were training. There was no change, but we still had that one variable that we approached using strategies, and all what was given to me will follow this, and then we have to change that a variable. Yeah, we had to change some of it too. And like I said, here's one thing while I'm looking at my notes. There is one I say don't skip steps, don't skip. This is one you do want to skip. Absolutely do. Because you have a different child here. You want to miss a step where you would be putting them on a baby potty. You know, the little ones, the plastic ones, whatever. Don't. Not only that they will used to that, may not go ever, but just sit on there, whatnot. But then guess what you're gonna have to do? You're gonna be teaching them the real potty, because they're gonna grow out of it very quickly, and you're getting yourself double worked, right? So that's the one I would recommend to skip. That's the baby potty. Okay, don't do that. Start with just get it adjusted. Get the stool or the little step chair. Get the soft cushion around it if they're little ones, and start using the real one, because that's a less things you need to teach them. It should make sense too. Let's see. So I covered that. Now I'm gonna tell you what we come up with and what we did. And we use a physical restraint at this point. And we could do that because our child already used to the bathroom, the environment. He was there already like 3 months and we didn't get anywhere. So he used to the bathroom. He just didn't want to stay there. What do you do then? He's tired and bored, and I'm like broke buying all these toys over and over again. So, and that back reinforcer is still there. So, so we had to physically restrain this child, and I'll show you some pictures. Then we used the strongest reinforcer instead of toys and stuff. While he's physically restrained, it was what he wanted. iPad, iPhone, anything digital that he wanted, he had it. That's how we did it. We also established a routine. He carried that over from first 2 attempts, and he already used to go to the bathroom to sit, just won't pee. So you just have to come up with something else. And then he would sit in there until he actually pee. But this whole time, my father or I would sit next to him, and you can just get your phone and don't even have to engage anymore. You know why? Because they got what they want. You don't need to distract them anymore because they are doing that already. And then you just wait till they have to go and pee, regardless. Because they've got no choice. I mean, they've got the tablet. They're gonna see. They're gonna, yeah. And then you go back to those steps when you reward that accident, whatnot. And as soon as you hear that, that's a different approach too. As soon as you hear when they go, release immediately. That's what we did, and that's why we sit there and we praise him too. We've got nothing else to give him. He already had the highest reinforcer there was, what he wanted. But his reward was, at this point in time, being released from restraint. And that's what did work. Okay? So, again, this is an extreme. He was 6 at the time. And this was an extreme approach, but it did work for me. And before I talk about what we did, I need the house, and I'm gonna reserve my rights for that creation that I had to come up with for my child, and my father made it. And the idea belongs to me, actually. So when it goes to, if it is in, which I'm probably hallucinating right now, right? I mean, but we just don't know how many children need that and how many parents need that. If we can get this into mass production, I would like to I'm reserving my rights to that product that we customized to fit our severely autistic child that made him go to the toilet. And this is something, it's not exactly something, it's gonna, you will need this for a year, like a stroller. You know, you will need this for some time, and then you get a little stroller and then another, but at least a year. Or the baby crib, another year. So this chair may be used for a year that we come up with. And we're only talking day P. Then there's poo. That's next. And that's why you need that chair that we come up with, and how we adjusted and accommodated and with what we had. Again, I will be showing you some pictures of that too, and I'll try to explain where that idea even came from. Yeah, and before I even go to that phase, I totally strongly disagree with my BCBA, who was an expert, said that he needs to cry until he cries out, cry till die. No, I disagree. 10 years later, I disagree with this, because I don't think they need to go through negative experience. They don't have to learn from being upset, being cried. No, there are other ways. I never liked that idea when the child has to just cry. And it hurt me so bad when, there was an issue when he would throw things everywhere, damage everything, and he's damaged in devices, by the way. Didn't care about toys. He played with an iPad, then just drops. So what I do, I had to take it. I had to take it for that day, and I cried, and he cried. We both cried. At this point, yeah, you have to do it, but for the toilet training, no, you cannot make him cry until they sleep on that potty, because they're never gonna go back to it. It's gonna be a negative experience to them. That's why I'm telling you have to play with toys. Never get upset. Ignore if they pee and they don't pee where they're supposed to pee. Yeah. So anyway, going back to how I come up with my idea that I want to reserve my rights. See, if anyone one day, maybe 5-10 years from today, and I'm still around watching this video and has means to put it in a mass production, because that's what did work for me, by the way, and we are extreme. Think about, like, my child had a feeding issues, and he just stopped eating, and we had to go to VCU, feeding clinic, I believe one in the whole state of Virginia. And he was there for 2 consecutive months, every single day. It was like a 2 months employment without pay for me. But they introduced him to a chair. There's a feeding chair, and you look at that physical restraint. I mean, what do you do when you put him in a stroller? What do you do when you put him in a baby car seat? What do you do when you put him in the cars in the back there? You buckle them up. That's a physical restraint. And that feeding chair, that is restraint. So I just want to come out. I mean, I want to show you the chair. Hopefully that works. I don't even know. This is my tools right now, because like I said, I'm limited. But this is the chair. This is him eating. Restrained the whole time. You see that? And he was doing just fine with that. That's my father. And there is the product. Oh my gosh, but it did work. It did work. So I'll show you some pictures and see. He is sitting on the toilet just fine. He's got one belt. That's from actual stroller. We use, see that one? And then this one, oops. He was restrained so he doesn't move back and forth. And then one around his body. he's got, when he was a little short, so we would have a table, so his legs, we didn't have a cushion because we hadn't made that really, and but his feet were a little bit higher up from the floor, so he didn't have any bruising while he was sitting on that. That's the model. And as you can see, we adjusted, so because he would sit hours on iPad, there was no problem here, right? So that's why we, you know, I created like a little table where he could play with his iPads and stuff. And the cushion came actually from a stroller I had, and that was already kind of soft on the back. And that was also, this is came from the stroller. As you can see, it's the same color. And this is the model. I don't know if I can do that, but look at that. This is what we had to come up with. So buckle up. It may just work for you too. We gave him the strongest reinforcer. The strongest. I would, now thinking, I would probably do, well, no, actually, for us, it doesn't matter because we had a cover up, so it didn't hurt his hands and arms. But this is how we made that up, and then once you put it, it just sits there. That's what we come up with, and that's what, you know, my father has some skills to round up that shape of the toilet bowl. Yeah. Yeah. See what he's doing? That's the hardest, the strongest reinforcer. He was always wanted, he was always interested in, he could see it. And it's also, if you think back, I'm thinking back, he could not really rock that much. He started rocking as soon as he would get out, but that didn't bother him because he was so distracted. He was on the iPad. That's what he wanted, right? And like I said, you will need help because you cannot sit like this. You have to sit there. You have to sit there until you hear that accidental pee, and then reward, rephrase, whatever. You just have to give him something and say, well, great boy, you know, look. This is what we come up with, and that's what finally worked. Okay, that's a Busch Gardens now. But like I said, there was one other image I was gonna show you here, and I'm gonna bring this up. So again, I'm gonna reserve my rights for that device or that chair. I mean, we use this in a stroller, we use this in the car seat, we use this as a feeding chair. Why not to come up with one for a freaking toilet? You answer me. Now, I want to talk about, I found this one image. I'm 28 minutes right now, but I found that one incredible image. This image is actually in April 21. So we're going back 5 years ago. And when I saw it, I was like, I just have to show that to you. And that also shows his token board, because I've talked about it, but maybe some people that don't know what it is, because now they're pushing these speech devices. Yeah, there's business ongoing there. And so I created my own. I made it attractive, and I just want you to see what I did and how I did that. And that's basically, when I say token board, that means schedule, sequence, routine. When you do potty training, you need one. When you do ABA, you start with that. Yeah, you have to start with that. But so that's obviously, if I see, you know, on that image, I also see Brendan's picture on the potty. And that trial did not work, or maybe it did. I don't remember. I just don't remember right now. But let's get into the image. Yeah, April 21, and the picture was taken April 21, 2019. Let's see if we can analyze it now. Let me get the phone here. Look at that. I did my homeschool, after school failed and private school failed, then I said no more, thank you, because every time I put them in school they fail, and it's feeding, always feeding. They couldn't feed him because that's medical, and I don't blame schools for that, don't get me wrong. It's just they just don't have feeding therapists in there, or they have therapists that don't even show up, and you just don't know about this. But they certainly routinely bill Medicaid, but you don't know that. You just see your child losing weight. What do? Oh, I just pull him out of school 3 times. But look at that, it was around Easter, apparently. We were dying eggs, and I'm exposing him to this experience, and this is his token board. I don't know if I can make that larger, doing this backwards. Let's see. Oh, there we go. So sorry, you probably have never seen that poor quality video before, but don't look for that, overlook it, look for information. And I work for, these are the tokens, and that we were on the 5-hour trial. Then I went to 10, meaning that could be longer, so you get more work done. But we were at the time of this, it was 5. Then look at his reinforcer, and I had several. I had iPad, Gpad, whatever you gosh name, all the digital stuff. And I also had a help, right? But look what else I had. See, we had some choices. We had iPad, Android, we had phone, and we had that. That's real him sitting on the potty. Real him, real picture. He knows how he looks like, you know, because I'm taking him to a mirror and I show him, this is Brandon, this is, now he knows. But look, I had a real pictures of him sitting on that potty and not even restrained. So I think it was probably third trial, maybe before. I don't remember specifically, I cannot tell you this, but this is around the time when maybe it was even afterwards. I just would have to remind him to go pee-pee when, you know. But look how much fun he had too. He had so much fun. And as you can see, there's my chair, there's my table. This is how I used some blocking, because he would get off the table and run. So I had to block him on the side. I remember that. So anyway, so I got carried away too, because that was 5 years ago. I was younger, he was younger. But the token board is very important. And we did not use speech devices. It's just another route that they want you to go through, but they benefit more than you are. Again, this is my personal opinion. I believe that you grasp images much faster, unless you're blind, than a speech device. That's another whole conversation too, by the way. So again, take a look, see what you think. See if you can have somebody fix that chair for you, if everything I said, because that's an easy approach in the previous session. And that did not work for me, although I also was missing some information that I'm sharing with you right now. I would do differently. At the time, with what I had and what I knew, I had to come up with something else, and that was the chair restraining him, giving him the hardest reinforcer at all times, not just like peeing open. He just would sit until he goes. You just have to be there to listen, so you can immediately release him. And from that negative experience, I guess, as soon as he peed, we would release him, and that became his reinforcer. But he didn't mind sitting because he got what he wanted. So that could be overriding the whole ABA approach, if you will. But that's what worked. And you don't see one of the single pictures where he would be sitting and crying on it, because he had what he wanted the whole time he was on it, right? So I'm wishing you try what I said before, and you may need to do what I did. Yeah. And hopefully they're not too big, so that the belts work. But Again, that's always customized, modified. The bigger they are, the bigger stuff needed, the stronger belts needed, possibly those tools needed. You just have to accommodate, adjust, and do what makes sense. Yeah. Anyway, the reason I'm doing this tonight right now is only because we have bush gardens tomorrow, and I always keep my promises through because I want my child to believe me. He's waiting for it. He had meltdown over it, and I posted a video on this, and I come up with a freaking roller coaster. I have to buy one, and I just don't even have room where I put it. This is, people that know me, they know how I live, but I think about next conversation when I can talk. Maybe oral sensory, maybe feeding issues. I mean, because my child had so many impairments, I know just about everything because it's pretty much, if your child has oral sensory, you probably won't eat very well. You probably have issues with brushing their teeth. And guess what? We are brushing our teeth, and we're flossing our teeth now. And we complied at the dentist. Go watch that video too. And I've seen that doctor for 10 years. And the first picture, I'll do probably the same demonstration. The first picture is when my father would lie down and then would help Brandon. And we had to hold him and do it that way, but now she just goes, and he's one of the best patients too. Anyway, that's another day, another conversation. I just have to figure out which one would be of interest. Again, I have a lot to share. It's a practical too. That's what I went through, right? And then I hope you will want to hear more from me, okay? But again, have a wonderful night, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know. Bush Gardens tomorrow, okay? Bye.